By far, one of the big mysteries of the Star Wars sequel trilogy by Disney and Lucasfilm has all to do with Rey's lineage, also Rey's identity in the Skywalker saga, and exactly how that's all going to be handled in, of course, The Rise of Skywalker by J.J. Abrams. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, what's really exciting about Episode 9 is that we do know that this film is, of course, going to answer many of the burning questions from The Force Awakens that's now going to be answered in Episode 9. But let's look at the character of Rey. Now, we do know that Disney and Lucasfilm are changing Rey's lineage in this movie, especially through all of the rewrites that took place in late 2018 between George Lucas and J.J. Abrams, in order to create something very much satisfying for the character of Rey. Now, these past couple of weeks or so, we've been learning a whole lot more about this film, and when it all comes down to one of the concept art descriptions, this is where things begin to get very intense for the characters of Palpatine and Rey in The Rise of Skywalker. Now, specifically, what's really intriguing about all of this is that a description of a sequence where it's explained that both Rey and Palpatine are said to be in a confrontation, where it's explained that Sidious is said to be giving Rey a lecture about the dark side of the Force and the beyond. This is where Palpatine is said to frighten Rey, as he is said to rise up on his crane system above his throne, where he begins to unveil to Rey that she is the living example of the knowledge his master Darth Plagueis once had, which was the ability to create life. Now, it's said that Sidious unveils to Rey that she is the walking example of how he was able to adopt his master's power of creating life, where Palpatine was able to initiate the birth of Rey through Rey's mother, while also transferring elements of his own DNA into Rey's mother during the process, where Sidious is said to unveil that her family is also his family, and that somehow, some way, that Rey is the granddaughter of Darth Sidious. It's explained that in the shot, Rey becomes frightened, where she takes a couple of steps backward as Palpatine begins to come toward her, at her, and reassures her that this is why she has had dark side tendencies and even nightmares during her time on Jakku, and was waiting for the perfect moment for both Rey and Kylo to meet in order to do something incredible with the Force itself. It said that this is where Sidious unveils to Rey also that there is no escape and that her destiny lies with the dark side of the Force. So let's go over a couple of parts about this. Now, obviously, a lot of fans are going to have mixed reactions on the creation of Rey and her connection with Palpatine, and how, in a sense, she is indeed the granddaughter of Darth Sidious himself. Now, we can see that this is Disney's obvious way of explaining as to why Rey is so powerful, and why Rey has had all these different powers, and why she has actually been able to defeat Kylo Ren numerous times in the Skywalker saga, right? So, I'm not quite sure if this is a great way to justify it. I mean, it does explain, reasons as to why, yes, that she is very powerful, but at the same exact time, a lot of fans are going to wonder, exactly how Palpatine was able to discover this power. Now, of course, they're going to explain more about Palpatine's discovery of creating life and passing on his knowledge that he learned from, of course, his master Darth Plagueis, and what he was able to learn from, ancient Sith knowledge as well. So, this is all going to be done in the novelization of The Rise of Skywalker, which, by the way, is going to be a big deal in March of 2020, which is when The Rise of Skywalker novelization drops. In fact, I believe it's said to be the longest novelization in the sequel trilogy, which does indeed suggest that it's going to have a lot of content in there related to Palpatine and his discoveries. So, one other aspect that I do want to go over here is, of course, how Palpatine unveils to Rey that elements of his own DNA was able to transfer over into Rey's mother, and that essentially Rey's family is his family, and that she is a walking example of Palpatine's knowledge of his own master, Darth Plagueis. So let's stop right here for a second, because this is another great thing about Episode 9, is that there are going to be references of Darth Plagueis in The Rise of Skywalker, and that is something great in my point of view, because it tells us that J.J. Abrams is paying a lot of attention to the prequel trilogy era, where we had Sidious telling Anakin about Plagueis. Now we have Sidious telling Rey about Plagueis. So it's kind of like a little bit of a mirror, a nice parallel, if you will, to, of course, Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, which is what you really need in a movie that's serving as a culmination of the Skywalker saga, right? Now, let's talk about this crane system. Now, this crane system, in case you guys did not know, is said to be a mechanical system that attaches to Palpatine, keeping him alive before he uses the Force conduit technique. Now, Palpatine has been waiting for a very long time for these two characters to meet. You know, the grandson of Darth Vader and his very own granddaughter that is actually going to meet and create the Force conduit, which is of course going to be able to allow him to rejuvenate, to bring himself to a far younger state in the rise of Skywalker. So that's going to be one element of episode 9 that's going to stand on its own, away from The Last Jedi and of course The Force Awakens by J.J. Abrams, that's going to create some new Star Wars lore that we have never seen before on the big screen in Star Wars film history. Anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.